Welcome back to Networking Unleashed Building Profitable Connections, the podcast where we dive deep into the strategies, tools, and mindset shifts that turn conversations into real opportunities. Now, today's episode is a game changer. We're tackling a hot topic: AI networking versus local networking. Can ChatGPT really help you build stronger connections, or does something replace the power of a handshake and face to face conversation? My guest is the perfect person to unpack this. With a background in both AI driven networking and boots on the ground local relationship building. We're going to explore how technology can amplify your reach without sacrificing authenticity, why connections, why local connections still matter more than ever, and how the smartest professionals are blending the two into multiple results. So, if you've ever wondered whether to learn into automation or double down on community, this is a conversation you can't afford to miss. So let's jump in. I'd like to welcome Mike Hayes. Mike and I actually have become friends over the past few months, and this is going to be an engaging podcast, which I'm really looking forward to. So, if you would, Michael, welcome to the podcast and tell us a little about your background.
Okay, thank you, Michael. It's great to be here. I'm really excited. I was at a network event last night and I really had a real eye-opening experience happen, and I'm super stoked about sharing it. So this is the perfect time to unleash my energy about it right here with you. So let me get back to my background now. Okay, I've had a blessed life. Fortune has stepped into my life many times and through networking and asking questions. I was raised by my mom, a teacher, it never hurts to ask. And everything that I have gotten in my life, and I've really attracted everything my heart and soul really wanted in my life: love, happiness, family, etc., by asking questions. I'm good at that. And I had a fairly average upbringing and education up to a certain point. I graduated from Eastern Michigan University. I was living in my parents' basement, walking a mile down to the university in the middle of the snow, working in a factory to work my way through and to pay for college. I was also working at my friend's Ford dealership. And so we were friends from third grade. And so I just something that I was fascinated with the automobile business. Long story short, after I graduated, there was no work in broadcasting. And while I was working on the assembly line, Michael, doing the same thing 1,600 times a day, I fantasized about working for Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show, to go from the most boring job in the world to going to the most exciting job I could visualize. Okay. So that was my vision in my mind. And did I attract that into my life? I think I did. Here's what happened. One day after school, I was sitting there in my parents' living room reading a book, and I literally thought, there's got to be more to life than this. And so I set the book down and I asked my sister to drive me out to the freeway so that I could hitchhike to New York City and ask NBC to let me to go to work for them the way I wanted to. Now, this was in the 60s. All I had was a literally a plastic garbage bag. I threw all of my stuff into the garbage bag because it was raining. I put on my navy pea coat and I went out to the freeway and I started to hitchhike. And the first guy that picked me up was an all night truck driver who let me sleep in the back of his truck. And I slept all the way to New York. And tomorrow, the next morning, he bought me breakfast. And it was just like, okay, that was a good start. So then I went to go into NBC. I'm standing outside building up courage. And right then, a pigeon, you know what, on my shoulder of my jacket. Okay. So I thought, okay, that's a good start. So I walked into NBC in New York and asked where I could go to apply for a job. So they sent me, I believe it was the sixth floor, can't remember exactly. And I walked in and I asked the question, can I apply for the job? And the gal behind the counter, plexiglass, said, "We don't have any jobs." I said, "I hitchhiked all the way here from Michigan. Could I at least apply for the job?" She slides the application through the little window, and I fill it in, and I slide it back, thinking, "Okay, I'll head off to CBS or ABC, my second or third choices." And I'm walking out of the reception area, and all but my heel is out of the room. And I hear, "Hey, come back in here." And I turned around, I went back, and she goes, "You graduated from Eastern Michigan?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I graduated from Eastern Michigan." And talk about asking questions and the law of attraction. So she sent me, this angel sent me off on these job interviews until I got hired in the apprentice program at NBC at 22. And it's actually statistically harder to get into that program than it is to get into Harvard. The rest of it is just literally a miracle, one after the next. That was like a $5 million education, world class. I couldn't have gotten anywhere else. And that completely changed everything in my life. So, do I believe in networking? Do I believe in asking questions? Absolutely. It's such a game changer. Now, that was the start. It's been a wild adventure ever since, but I want to hand the ball back to you, Michael.
Mike, I got to tell you, that story just tells me everything about you that I have to know. And that's where your heart is in networking. My heart is in networking. Networking is the base of all businesses. And as soon as you believe that, then you'll understand what we are talking about. So let me jump into my first question. How do you see AI tools like ChatGPT reshaping the way professionals approach networking compared to traditional face to face methods?
Okay. I want to broaden the market a little bit from professionals to everybody. And let me explain what I mean. And the example came up last night. Now, my premise is this, it's real simple. AI is media, period. And I actually bought the domain AI is media. Absolutely know it and love it and think about it as communication. Now, in the car business, I learned more about human to human communication, one to one, than I actually did in broadcasting, because that's really where the rubber meets the road in business. Last night, I was at an event, and people were complaining about their inability to get heard and to communicate, and saying, "Gosh," one lady stood up and said, "I really feel like I need a 12-year-old to teach me how to use AI because I just don't have the skills." And that's when I realized, stop, wait, you've got that 12-year-old right in your hand, in your laptop or in your phone. If you can take 1 hour and learn how to use ChatGPT, that is the 12-year-old that you need to teach you everything else about ChatGPT and about AI. That's what I realized, is that ChatGPT, if you can, and what I said is, if you can order a book on Amazon on your phone or on your computer, you can order ChatGPT to give you information on demand that you need to reach out to people for networking. So that does it fit in? Yeah, and lifelong learning is really what it's going to require. And I've been preparing with all of my background, all of my training of human to human communication and media communication, to help people understand that you can learn to communicate in any part of your life. So I don't think networking at this stage in the AI frontier is only for business anymore. I think it's for everybody, honestly. I can't tell you how many people, teachers, divorcees, people going through a divorce, that I have helped to communicate better in all parts of their life. And by learning ChatGPT networking to communicate with their spouse's attorney, with their school system as a teacher, with anybody and everybody, does it work better to make money in the frontier of AI in business networking? Absolutely. So, as you can see right over my shoulder, I still love the broadcasting of the Tonight Show. So, I created the Spotlight Tonight Show to spotlight people like yourself on my podcast to help people understand who is Michael Forman and how do you unleash networking. Of course, I do it through Love Local Networking, and that's where my passion is, Michael.
And you said, who is Michael Forman? And that is such a key thing with my networking. And I have to tell you a little story about our friend Abe in California,
Yeah.
who, who has a partner in Las Vegas. And once he was talking with him, his partner was saying, Abe, stop for a second. Who is Michael Forman? And he's like, why? Because his name is all over the place. So this person in Las Vegas was talking to this person in California about me in Georgia. And the only thing that I'm using that level of AI is I'm writing some articles about it and I'm using to brand myself. But AI is a tool that we all use, but it has to be one of the tools. And the Love Local networking is the mainstay.
Michael, you and I were talking briefly about GEO versus SEO.
Correct.
And that is one of the reasons that our friend Abe Nasser has boosted your name up to the top of search by understanding that as one of the three main platforms for amplifying your voice and really getting the story out there. So I just want to give Abe props for his success. And you and I both network with him. And that's what it's all about. It's about a team. Nobody can do it by themselves today. It's a frontier. It's a kind of wild west frontier. And that's
Yes.
why I love checking in with Michael Forman to find out, take your pulse about what's going on in networking. You love checking in with me. We learn from each other, we help each other, we share with each other, and we want to help everybody.
And this is great. And this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning of the AI technology because it changes, I think, every week it changes. Okay, let me go on to question number two. What are the biggest opportunities and risks when people lean too heavily on AI driven networking instead of building authentic local relationships?
I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a two-sided coin, and that you really need a blend of both, a fusion of both. Think of it like creating nitroglycerin. When you take two different components, they're just components, but when you put them together, they create an explosive element to it. And that really to me is the key to business networking AI is the blend, the fusion of the two. It's not one or the other. But the caution is in the era of AI is putting out content, Michael, like a kid's soap bubble machine. Little bubbles, they're floating all over. They're empty, they're light, and they're just floating. They don't mean anything, really. They're even literally empty. And they're not human beings. They can't hire you, they can't buy what you want, they can't really do much, but they fool you and they create an illusion of content. But local networking, when you walk into a room and shake hands with somebody and you've met them, as I have met Abe in person, I've driven down to the Rumi Awards that he puts on, has 1 million followers on Facebook. And he invited me into the red carpet for the Rumi Awards. I got to meet him, see his multi-camera shoot. It was amazing. It was really impressive. But I also shook his hand. Then, when I'm in a networking event and I've met someone, now I can tell you, if you've never met Abe, I can tell you Abe is real. He is a physical human being. He is a friend of mine. And I can give a testimonial for Abe online because I've met him. The only thing you need to be a testimonial for somebody is somebody talking about you who's not you. And so when I talk about Abe Nasser, this is me talking about Abe. It's not Abe talking about Abe, but I've met him. So that's why the blend of those two things is vital. And it's going to become more and more important. When people really start to get lost and confused by AI, get grounded. Like you say, you put it yesterday, get feet, boots on the ground. And that's what you need is get grounded, get boots on the ground, and blend those two things together. Then you got the best of both worlds.
I agree. I agree. And when you meet somebody face to face, you pick up the vibe of the person, the vibe of the room. I've walked into networking events where I said, "Whoa, you know what? I don't like the vibe in here." And everything that I was listening to was wrong. And I walked out. So you could do the same thing with a person saying, "You know what? Excuse yourself politely from that one conversation and go to the next." But it's very important that you pick up the vibe of the person in a room.
You brought up something vitally important. Let's talk about this for a second. You talked about the vibe in the room, you talked about politely leaving. I know you, Michael, to be a master of hospitality. And that word means everything to me. And even the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, when Johnny, and this is not this is an AI, this is not Johnny, but when Johnny had a guest on the show, he treated them like a guest in his living room. And that he for 25 years treating guests with hospitality. Now, I recently bought a car. I walked into one dealership. Like you were saying, the vibe was just transactional in my face. I want to get out of here, I said to my wife. So we drove an hour away to the same brand dealership because we wanted to buy a 2 year old car. I'd like to get cars that are slightly over the curb, and we got one for only 2,000 miles on it. But when I walked in, the hospitality was over the charts. I couldn't wait. I said to I've been in car sales for a long time. I understand that's one of the ways I worked through college. And I know they've got a reputation. But I said to this kid, I want to adopt you. I felt 20 years old. He had an amazing story and true grit. He heard a podcast. That's why I love podcast listening, Michael. He heard the idea. He was a waiter, didn't go to college yet, and heard an idea of selling cars on a podcast. He went down to Auto Row in San Jose and walked into one dealership after the next, getting a no after a no after no. And did I fall in love with him because that's what happened to me? Me walking into NBC and asking for a job. That's what happened when he walked into one car dealership, the one we went to. And they said, yes. He said, I don't know anything about cars, but I'm energetic and I'm willing to learn. He was, and they love him at the dealership. That's hospitality. And that's what I want to focus on is the power of hospitality is the ultimate game changer in networking. You walked into an event, you didn't like the vibe, no hospitality. That's the key. That's the game changer. It's the two sides of the coin. When you have hospitality, that changes everything. When you offer it.
You do. And you go into some dealerships, I'll use dealerships since we're talking about the auto industry. And if they have that type of hospitality, they think everybody's got it, that every dealership has the same thing, and that's what they're striving for. But when you go into that dealership where they don't have it, it's like they don't care. Okay, walk out because somebody else is going to walk in.
They don't know.
They don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly. And we can talk about one of the other businesses that you and I both have a passion for are workout areas. What is it?
Orange Fitness, Orange Fitness,
Orange Theory. Yeah, Orange
or
Theory,
Orange Theory, or
24-hour
Cross Fitness.
fitness.
Yeah,
Yeah, CrossFit. Those are places where you can get it because I believe in staying in shape and helping people get in shape. And that's why another reason I love podcast listening, because you can listen to podcasts while you're working out, staying in shape, going for a nice healthy walk. And it's just a great way to help people with lifelong learning. And that's what we're doing right now. We're doing podcast listening so people can listen to this podcast. Otherwise, you and I are just two faces on the screen.
Ab-
But there's no difference. Take it out for a walk.
yeah, no, absolutely. I give everybody two versions. I'm on Apple, Spotify, Pandora. That's all for your listening pleasure. But if you actually want to see your bright young face, then you go to YouTube or my website. So I give you the best of both worlds, but the what's inside the podcast is so useful. Let me go on to the next question. Local networking is rooted in community and trust. How can AI actually strengthen rather than replace those kinds of personal connections?
Let me give you a very dramatic one, and you might think this is off topic about personal connections. Hospitality is the way to really build the personal connections. When you have kindness in your heart and you greet people and they know that you care about them. But the other thing about local networking is right there in this picture of Ryan Reynolds and how he used AI to really, I hate to use this term because people might not understand it, but there's a radical abundance of things in the era of AI. There's so much media. There's just an overabundance of media. There's an overabundance of almost everything. People don't know how to channel it. They don't know how to harness it. But what Ryan Reynolds did is he harnessed the power of AI to harness the overabundance of hyper local television, and he has used it so you can buy TV. Think of getting the cost down dramatically by going into just one zip code. You don't have to be all over the place. You can just be in Walnut Creek, California, one zip code, or Lafayette, California, one zip code. But then I thought, okay, now how can we even help break that down even smaller? Create Love Local Networking magazine where anybody in a local community can be in the magazine, but then we can advertise that on television. So we have cooperative advertising, cooperative reach with TV. So these are, when you work with the best, you can ignore the rest. And that's important because there's such an overabundance of everybody saying, oh, I'm the expert, I'm the expert, I'm the expert. But when you really learn from the best people, I've interviewed Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, then you can really go, okay, let's get into a focus. Now, of all the people that I could work with, because I was known as the network king in the direct response industry, I chose Michael Forman to partner with in networking because I want to work with the best and I want to explain to people you don't have to do everything. If you find the best people to work with, stick with them, support them, learn from them, get mentored by them, and mentor them. We all have to have both our mentor and our protege hats on all the time. So I want to give Michael Forman a testimonial. He invited me on the podcast because one of the things that hospitality creates is reciprocity. So Michael has had me on his program. I feel indebted to him for this gift of having me as a guest on his show. So let me return the favor, Michael, and tell people how much I respect you as a networker and as somebody that offers hospitality. We're in a safe place for them to be and to learn and be in good hands with you, Michael.
I truly appreciate that. I know that it's a little off topic, but I absolutely appreciate everything that you said. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so
Do you want me to get back to the topic?
yeah, no, we'll move on to the next
You're
one. We'll move
good.
on to the
Okay.
next one. What would you say to someone who argues that online networking through AI and automation feels less real than shaking hands and sharing a conversation over coffee?
It is less real because media is less real. It's not being in person. They each have a strength and they each have a weakness. But when you take the strength of one, you overcome the inherent weakness of the other. So that's why it's not one or the other. It's the fusion, it's the blend. And that's when you have the ideal situation. So, yeah, absolutely. AI and any online communication, TV, email, I'm not right there. It's not real. It's a reflection of me. I'm there at the networking event. But you know what, Michael, I put on big networking events. I've had as many as 200 people in one evening at the Capital One Cafe in Walnut Creek, 200 people. And that was before COVID. When COVID hit, I had 150 people online. So I would poll them and I'd ask them, are you following up after these networking events? Because going to networking is just a ritual. It's not marketing. It's not really doing business. It's just something fun to do and you can meet people. But if you're not checking in and following up after the event, don't even bother going, to be candid with you, because you're not going to do, nobody's going to write you a check right there. So what you really have to do is you have to add the blend. You know how many people I found out actually follow up?
Two,
One,
one. All right.
one, one in 100. So if you actually want to stand out and be one in 100, think about this. If you simply follow up, you're one in 100. You are just the standout networker just by following up. That simple thing. And that's what ChatGPT does. It makes it so easy to follow up. And you stand out because you're the guys that follow up. Reversely, let's look at it for a second. If you don't follow up, okay, so who do you follow up with? Your mom, your dad, your friends, your brothers, your sisters. Those are people you follow up with, you love, you care about them. So when you go to a networking event and you don't follow up, you're sending a message.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
I don't
listen,
care
I,
about you. That's the message you're sending.
I teach the follow-up is actually more important than actually meeting the person. And I have what's called a secret sauce for follow-up. It's a system that if you follow it up, you go from that 3% receiving rate to about 70%. So it's definitely more important. And if you just go to an event and you don't follow up or don't follow up correctly, you might as well not even have gone. You might as well not even
Exactly.
gone. Unless you wanted to go out for the social aspect of it, there's no reason to go.
And that's true. One thing that part of the polling, I asked him, why don't you follow up? Why don't you follow up? You're not following up. Why not? I wanted to know why. I wanted to confront that. Face your challenges, you cut them in half, turn your back on them, they double. So I looked at it and they go, know what I'm going to say. I think I'm going to talk too much. And you know what? I'm so afraid of rejection that, I'm already down, I'm struggling, and I'm afraid people are going to reject me. Okay, get it. Put it on ChatGPT. Ask it. Then it's getting rejected, not you personally. Hey, ChatGPT, you just got rejected, babe. Let's go back to
That's
the drawing
that
board.
that's it. I find that people are actually lazy in the follow-up. They're like they went to the event and now they're looking for the next event, the next time where they can show their wares, but they're not doing the follow-up because they're actually lazy. And with my system, it's probably 6 different touches in 2 weeks. If you have to be serious about the follow up, if you want your business to increase, if you want to scale your business, but even if you're just starting out and just a single entrepreneur, or they call solopreneur, you have to start somewhere, but start with going to those events and following up. It's a very easy thing to do.
Michael, I refer to networkers as CEOs because we're all the CEO of our own life. We're the chief executive officer of our life. We make the decisions. It's our life. We can either grow it, we can improve it, we can do the things to polish it. But yeah, well, I understand. We're all human beings. Every human being on the planet Earth has special needs. Every single one of us. We're all vulnerable. We all have our weaknesses. Guess what? So does ChatGPT. It's got its own weaknesses. And when you treat everybody like they have special needs with hospitality. Don't assume that there's some arrogant jerk. Assume that maybe they're a little fearful. Maybe they need a little tender, loving, tender care and a little hugging, even virtually, just to care for them. That if you treat ChatGPT that way too, guess what? It will treat you in kind. It will give love back, and it will communicate in a very hospitable way. And it's a way that everybody can come together. I don't care if you are on the far right or far left. ChatGPT can neutralize communication and take a lot of the sting out of it to keep the door open for better communication between everybody. And it takes the fear of communication out because it's done so professionally, so well, and fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But one thing you have to remember is that you have to train ChatGPT. You have to ask the right questions. And sometimes it'll take three or four different variations of the question for you to get that response. But ChatGPT remembers those responses. So you get better and better. So there's no looking back. You just look forward and it'll become easier and easier so that everybody can get into the follow-up game.
Yeah, that's true. But let me explain one thing about ChatGPT. It really does know marketing. It knows what an advertorial is. If you don't know what an advertorial is, it does. And go, okay, put this into the tone of an advertorial. Now, an advertorial is editorial content that's an ad or a promotion. If you ask ChatGPT, what's an advertorial? It knows what it is. So you can just, and even if you don't know the words to what to ask for, I think maybe that's what you're addressing is what is the terminology? Or you can actually ask ChatGPT, what questions should I be asking you to get the response that I want? That's why I'm saying it's like the 15-year-old that really is savvy about technology. If you treat it like that's what it is, it will help you that way. And then you go, what should I ask? Okay, I'm asking that. Now give me the response. Now cut and paste. That's the only skill you need. Cut and paste so that you can then put it into an email, a post, or wherever you want. And we can teach you how to do that.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Where do you think the balance lies between efficiency, AI helping us scale connections, and authenticity, the human touch that local networking brings?
It's interesting. I did a podcast this morning with my two AI co-hosts, and I create them and they talk. So I did an input from the networking event last night, and then I put it into my program, and I get these two AI co-hosts actually speaking, a male and a female, and they're going back and forth and blah blah blah. But that's all AI. But you know what? It's now interactive. So right in the middle of this chat and this dialogue, I can go, wait, guys, let me interrupt for say, oh, welcome. It's Mike, blah, blah, blah. What do you have in mind, Mike? You guys are saying this and you're saying that. But now here I am. I'm the human being in the middle of this dialogue with my AI co host. I insert myself into it, and then they help expand upon it. And they bring me ideas all day long. And
It's
it's like,
amazing.
they're
It's
mentors
amazing.
and teachers. It's amazing. And I'm having an absolute blast. It is my 5 hour energy drink. It energizes me when I don't feel up for it. I don't feel like you mentioned the word lazy. Okay, let's use that. Let's use energy. Let ChatGPT provide the energy. Drag ChatGPT, I'm exhausted. I don't have the energy to follow up. I need your energy. Here's the response, but really make it energized and really sound up like I'm Tony Robbins. I just don't feel like it. Sure, boom, it gives you this response. Hey, let's go conquer the world. And it's all Chat GPT energy. It's not even your own.
Absolutely. Great. That's great. Great. Okay. So, what lessons from local face to face networking do you think people are at risk of forgetting as digital tools become more dominant?
Over reliance on it and thinking that they can kind of lazy their way out and put it on AI. If you don't bring your heart, your love, and I love using the word love when you bring emotion into networking. The motto of my city, Lafayette, California, for the past 25 years has been the word love Lafayette. So Lafayette, California is a model of using the word love in business, in community, in family, but most importantly, Michael, in AI. Because if we don't infuse love, in fact, they're talking about how they need to program motherly love into AI, literally, so that it will love human beings and not want to take over. Because, yeah, there are dangers. My congressman said, Mike, working on AI is like working on the atomic bomb project. So I knew that he wasn't underestimating how things could go off the rails and go wrong. That's why I love DeepMind from Google's DeepMind. MS Sumitras, the CEO of Google DeepMind, which is committed to keeping AI safe and ethical and honest and avoiding an overabundance of scarcity where the super rich get everything and we get whatever's left, and really focusing on radical abundance instead of radical scarcity. And it's going to be one path. And guess what, folks? If you're neutral and you do nothing, you're going to end up in radical scarcity. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to find the path to radical abundance. We're not there yet by a long shot. But if we're on the right trail to the top of the mountain, we can get there and we can get there together.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so let me ask you, in your experience, how can small business owners use both ChatGPT and local networking together to build visibility and trust faster?
Go to networking events and I hate to say it, collect cards, or you can take a card like I created called a quantum reach card that I have QR codes built right into the card. And we're in the digital age. So I tell them, scan this QR code. Go to podcast listening and learn more. Go to Love Local Networking. 100%, Michael. Honestly, the last networking event I was at, 100% of the people scanned the QR code to get right to Love Local Networking, which connects them to ChatGPT networking and everything else we we're talking about. So you go there, and that's the best way to get it from the in person to the digital, because we're in the digital age. And Bill Gates says the biggest opportunities in the is finding digital substitutes in the digital age. We want to have the blend of real world networking, so we know we're talking to real people, real human beings, warm blooded, shake hands, and avoid loneliness, which is at epidemic levels right now, and then blend that with the digital, make the QR code, I call it quantum reach connection, just to play off the QR, and then get people into the digital and then follow up with digital communication through ChatGPT. So it's just a bridge from one to the other, from back and forth. And then at the next, now you take the bridge back because I'm going to see you at the next live networking event. We're going to become friends by then. That's hospitality. So when I walk in then next time, you and I aren't strangers anymore. We've connected in the meantime. Maybe we went and had coffee. Now we're two together and we can talk to other people about connecting with the two of us, four of us, six of us, growing like
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. That's a nice marriage of the two technologies that you're talking about. I'm a simple person. On the back of my card, I have two QR codes. One goes to my website and one goes to all my digital courses. So I feel that if you wanted to know me, those two places are the place to go and find out what I'm all about.
You
So,
can see right here, Michael, there's a
yeah.
QR code right there.
Absolutely. And I've been using QR codes for about 10 years, almost 15 years. And back then it was just like, what are you doing that for? But everything I did, I'm going back to my mortgage days when I had business cards and I had flyers and everything. I had QR codes. They're like, that's a waste of, what are you doing? I'm like, it's an easier way. And it's become easier and easier so that now people just whip out their phones and go, oh, let me see it, click, and they can get right to your site, to whatever else. So it's a great marriage of the two technologies, as long as you know what to do with it and where to do it, where it's from.
Okay. You've
It,
just
it is.
commented on a number of things. Let me just jump
Yes.
in there. They all
Go
come
ahead.
down to two things. You used the word marriage. So let's focus on that of two things. Okay, networking and technology, phone and computer, ChatGPT and network. It's always a 1-2 punch. If you want to simplify things like Michael has just said, that's the way to do it. Concentrate on just those two things. If you try to accomplish everything, you'll accomplish nothing. So when you work with the best, you can ignore the rest. So get a focus. A magnifying glass creates heat when it gets a focus, right? So
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. You want to get a focus on two things: networking and follow up. And if you concentrate on those things, and the phone will, and those two things work together in digital, phone and computer, and your computer, your laptop, they work together beautifully. When you use them together, you get exponential content creation.
Absolutely. And when I teach a workshop or go to a conference or something else, I have an array of 8 or 10 different things that points that I want to put across to my audience. But I tell them, concentrate on 2 items, just two. And I want you to walk away and implement just 2 items out of the 8 or 10. And they're going, why? What do you just take my word for it? And it's true because there's a sequence of if you give them everything, they're going to, by the end of the week, they're going to forget 90% of them. By the end of the second week, they're going to forget one of the two things and they'll implement maybe one thing in about 3 weeks. So why not just have them concentrate on those two things and have them start? Okay, so do you think AI will ever be able to replace, I'm sorry, do you think AI will ever be able to replicate the emotional intelligence that comes with local human networking, or is it uniquely human advantage and will always have it?
The next 10 years, there's going to be, and it may well be sooner, there's going to be a quantum leap in artificial intelligence. What will happen now? The CEO of Google's DeepMind, it was a chess prodigy, and he won a Nobel Prize. He's a Nobel laureate, and he says, "Look, nobody knows." Nobody knows. And if one of the smartest people in the world says, folks, we don't know. And he's one of the creators, one of the architects of AI. That's why I really love his brain and his thinking. The dean of Oxford University, where I've been blessed to go to speak to Oxford University, said I to the teachers and the students, I can't protect you from AI. He got his PhD in AI from Cal, just over the hill from me, in quantum computing 30 years ago. He knows that AI is like a quicksand field. You're going to walk out into it, whoosh, you're going to see companies just disappear into the quicksand. But then you're going to see new things pop up immediately. That's why I look at it as dynamic. I think of myself, and I spent 10 years with NBC Sports in New York on the road. And I was written up in Sports Illustrated. And I say that because I've interviewed the top coaches in the world, the smartest coaching minds in the world. I understand audibles. Audibles. A coach calls in an audible when he sees something. Wait, this is happening. Go, wait, switch up. You call in an audible. So I created AI audibles like a coach, Michael, because that's how fast things are going to be able to change, or they're going to change if we like it or not. So I want to be able to say, stop, don't do that anymore. Now do this because it's changed. We've seen what happens. And that's why I want to stay current, use my background at NBC News because I move at the speed of TV news. That's how I was trained. I was practically raised in newsrooms. Every day we'd walk into a blank slate, and every day we'd put on 30 minutes of programming, all new information every single day. So I understand news. I understand how to handle the movement of information very quickly and break it down for the viewer to be able to digest it quickly too.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let's bring this podcast full circle. For listeners trying to decide where to put their energy, building AI powered systems or doubling down on local in person networking, what's the smartest way to combine the two for long term success?
You don't have to build a system to begin with. Don't even worry about that. The biggest skill, according to DeepMind, is going to be learning to learn. So get into the mindset of just learning to learn. Don't try and create a whole system yet because it could be outdated in a month and you put all this time and effort and energy in. So go to networking events, period. So start there, meet people, shake hands, and network. Now, what happens in networking? You start to share and you ask people questions about your concerns. What are you doing? What are you doing? What do you think of this or what do you think of that? Just do that. Start there. Then the second thing is go to ChatGPT and say, I want you to act like a 15-year-old digital expert. And I want you, ChatGPT, to teach me how to use ChatGPT. And we can show people how just start there. I call it KISS. Keep it senior simple. Okay. So when we can do that and we can help anybody that could buy a book on Amazon to get free advice from ChatGPT and ask it to help them learn ChatGPT. Just start there. Start your educational process. Then come back and network with you and me, and we'll help them and we'll teach them as we go and keep learning and keep them current and keep them up to speed. Because in marketing, if you're not current, you might as well be trying to be in a market in ancient Rome. It's over. You can't make money in the past. You've got to make money in the present and build for the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree 100%. Mike, this was great. I can talk to you for another 2 hours just about everything AI driven and love local networking. So, if somebody wanted to get hold of you, whether they want to be coached by you, want to ask questions about AI, anything they want, what's the best way they can get hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is podcastlistening.com. And I'll tell you why, Michael, because we are so busy today that I wanted to look at what is the best way to get educated when we're busy. Maybe you're taking care of kids, you're a grandparent or a busy parent, or you're commuting and you're spending all your time in the car. So I wanted to be able to reach people with podcastlistening.com, which is the most effective way to learn and to stay current. And I love to interview people and put them in a podcast. Podcastlistening.com has my email right at the top, Mike at podcastlistening.com. And just send me an email with your questions because we want this to be dynamic. We want to know, what do you want to know? We want to bring those answers to you to help you. And I want to interview you about what are you doing in local networking? Are you struggling? Are you struggling with AI? Are you confused? Are you feeling lost or left behind? I want to know that, just like I polled people at networking events. Were they following up? This is my way of polling them. Now, before this interview, you sent me a questionnaire and I filled it in to talk about what we wanted to talk about so you could prepare your questions. Likewise, that's what we need to do with our audience. Polling's great. It's really helpful. And you and I both know it. We want to get the audience engaged in polling, get on your show, fill in the questions for you so you can help tell their story. I can help tell their story. And we want to put them on the Spotlight Tonight show. This is exciting. This is fun stuff.
Absolutely. Listen, at the end of every talk that I give, every workshop that I hold, every keynote, I have a QR code and they jump on that QR code. It brings them right to a Google Docs form. They fill it out. What did they like? What did not like? What do they want to see? What they don't want to see anymore? Everything, all about it. That's all the polling. And that's all feedback that I get, and I change it up the next time I go out.
Beautiful.
All
That's how
right,
we
Mike.
stay engaged and we make it interactive. We keep it human. It's not, Michael's not AI. I'm not AI. You're not AI. We want your feedback so we can keep it human, put our hearts into loving local networking. Thank you so much, Michael. It was really a pleasure. It always is a pleasure when I network with you.
Thank you, Mike. I'll talk to you soon. Well, hold on, folks. Don't go anywhere. Let's hear from our sponsors. David Neal, co founder, Revved Up Kids. Revved Up Kids is on a mission to protect children and teens from sexual abuse, exploitation, and trafficking. They provide prevention training programs for children, teens, and adults. To learn more, go to revvedupkids.org. Henry Kaplan, Century 21. When it comes to making the biggest financial decision of your life, leave it in the hands of a proven professional, Henry Kaplan. Henry is a global real estate agent with Century 21, celebrating his 41st year in business. No matter where you're moving, Henry has the right connections for you. You can contact Henry at 561 427 4888. A wrap, folks. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing such incredible insights today. And of course, a big shout out to you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you're interested in my digital courses, being coached, or having me come and talk to your company, just go to Michael and fill out the request form. Remember, networking isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. So take what you've learned today, get out there, and make some meaningful connections. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little networking inspiration. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, or my website, forman.com/podcasts.